All right, let's dive into a really big one. Is breakfast actually the most important meal of the day? For decades, that was the golden rule. But lately, that old advice is getting a serious challenge.
I mean, you've seen it everywhere, right? With huge trends like intermittent fasting, skipping meals on purpose has become a popular diet strategy. But here's the thing. When you dig into the actual science, from what happens in your body minute to minute to the effects over a lifetime, the story gets way more complex. And honestly, way more interesting. So to start, let's get right into it. We're going to zoom way in, down to the cellular level, to see what's really going on inside your body when you skip that morning meal. And we've got this amazing, super tightly controlled German study to walk us through it. What they did was pretty cool. Scientists took 17 healthy adults and had them live inside this special room, a metabolic chamber, which let them track literally everything, every breath, every single calorie burned. This gave them a direct, completely unfiltered look at what happens when you miss a meal. And the first big thing they noticed? Whoa. After skipping breakfast, your body kind of freaks out when lunch arrives. It just struggles to deal with the sugar, the glucose coming in, and that leads to some really dramatic, unhealthy spikes in blood sugar. And we're not talking a small bump here. That glucose surge after lunch was a massive 46% higher on the day they skipped breakfast compared to the day they skipped dinner. 46%! That is a huge difference. But wait, it actually gets worse. Along with that flood of glucose, there was a 54% jump in insulin resistance after lunch. Now that's a really bad sign. It's basically your cells putting their fingers in their ears and ignoring insulin signal to take sugar out of your blood. So what's going on? Well, it all points to this thing called metabolic inflexibility. The best way to think about it is like your body is a hybrid engine. After that long fast from skipping breakfast, it gets stuck in fat burning mode. And when that rush of carbs from lunch suddenly hits, the engine just stalls. It can't switch gears fast enough, and you get this massive traffic jam of sugar and insulin in your blood. And this is so key, because it shows that when you skip a meal matters. A lot. Skipping breakfast, it throws a real wrench in the works for the rest of the day. But skipping dinner, totally different story. The body handled that much, much better. Okay, so right now it sounds like skipping breakfast is a terrible idea, right? Well, here's where things get a little complicated, because that same study found something totally unexpected, something that seems to go against everything we just said. Yeah, even the scientists themselves were surprised by this. They found that on the days people skipped a meal, either breakfast or dinner, their bodies actually kicked into a slightly higher gear and burned more calories over the whole 24 hours. You heard that right, more. Now, let's be real. It's not a ton of calories. We're talking an extra 41 calories on the breakfast skipping days and about 91 on the dinner skipping days. So it's not a huge amount, but still, it's more, not less. And that raises a really important question. So we've got this puzzle, don't we? On one hand, you're burning a tiny bit more energy, but on the other, you're creating this metabolic storm inside your body every single day. So which one wins out in the long run? To figure that out, we need to pull back from the microscope and grab a telescope. So let's connect the dots. How do these little daily hiccups in our metabolism add up over years or even decades? For this, we can turn to some massive studies that looked at exactly that. And when I say massive, I mean it. A huge analysis pulled together the data from 9 different long-term studies, tracking the health and habits of over 2.3 million people. This is the kind of data that can give us some really solid answers. And the findings? Well, they're pretty sobering. They found a clear, undeniable link between the habit of skipping breakfast and a higher risk of some really serious, life-threatening problems. We're talking heart disease, stroke, and wow, a nearly 50% jump in the risk of dying from a cardiovascular event. And if we dig into the numbers, it's stark. The risk just goes up across the board. See that last number, 1.49, for cardiovascular death? Here's what that really means. Your odds of dying from heart disease are almost 1.5 times higher. Put it this way, for every 2 people who eat breakfast and pass away from a heart issue, you'd expect to see nearly 3 breakfast skippers. That's a huge deal. All right, so let's put it all together. We've got the microscopic view from that 24-hour study, and we've got the big picture, telescope view from millions of people. So what's the final verdict here? It really seems to come down to this. That tiny, short-term win in calorie burn, it's just not worth the trade-off. It's being completely outweighed by the long-term pain. That daily chaos with your blood sugar and inflammation is like a slow burning fuse that over the years creates a very real danger for your heart. So, in this world of endless diet hacks and trends, this whole debate leaves us with a critical lesson, doesn't it? A quick metabolic win today might come with a really heavy price tag decades down the road. And it forces us to ask a much bigger question. Are we optimizing our health for today or for a lifetime?